So what I'm going to try to do is explain and also kind of simultaneously think out for myself why determinism is a false concept, and the whole determinism versus free will dichotomy is a false dichotomy. Much like the paradox of this statement is false, and you're trying to ascertain whether that statement is true or false, and that's just, that's just kind of a like a false question. I want to explain how determinism and free will as concepts are kind of like that. You may qualitatively assign one or the other later on, but in terms of logical reasoning. So I guess I'd begin by emphasizing the dependence of knowledge of a system as a dependent factor on whether a case is the knowledge of an outcome is one of the deciding factors of whether or not free will has been violated and destroyed. The example I will give is, imagine Neo is going to choose between blue pill and the red pill, and this is a moment of free will. Because we know that we don't always have free will. That's for sure, that sometimes things are determined and we have no choice. I would say, regardless of that, let's say that Neo is going to choose between the red pill and the blue pill, and I were to try to predict what he's going to choose. And I gather all this information, and with 99% certainty, he's going to choose the red pill, and that's my claim. But as long as there exists a possibility that he's going to choose the blue pill, his free will has not been violated. On the other hand, if I was an oracle, and I say that I know that Neo will choose the red pill, somehow if I were to know that Neo chooses the red pill, as if he'd already done it, so I know that Neo chooses the red pill in this realm of reality, then Neo's free will is undermined. It is dependent on 100% knowledge. It can't be a guess. And so beyond that, it's not just 100% knowledge, but the question is it possible to know the outcome? Is it possible to know the outcome? And anyone who's like kind of rigorous in their philosophical thinking knows that it's kind of impossible to know anything. So there's already one kind of dart that poisons this concept of determinism. But if you close up the system, I guess you understand how determinism could still be at play, at least within our system. But even within our system, right? Okay, and let's try to examine Neo's mind for a second. One of the one of the ways you might be able to predict Neo's decision is at the moment of choice to look into Neo's mind and look at everything that's happening within Neo's mind, right? That's one of the ways you could predict. That's maybe the only way you could predict what Neo's going to choose, right? It's going to be a lot easier to do that than to look at all the other variables external to his mind, because his mind is going to be the one that chooses, and all the little particles and neurons and whatever is going on in his mind is kind of cycling and formulating into a decision. And it could be argued, it depends on, Neo's level of consciousness of his own decision-making process. It could be argued that Neo is the one with the most knowledge of the outcome. It could be argued the other way. Sometimes we don't know what we're going to do. There's this kind of experiment on our decision-making processes that was done, where your brain gets hooked up to this machine that kind of analyzes your brain waves, and you're supposed to press this button, but the machine is able to pick up on when you make the decision to press the button, and you're supposed to try to press the button before the machine lights up. And what happens is when you reach for the button, the machine knows you're going to do that and lights up before you can even press the button. So we're not always conscious of everything that's going on in our minds. And it freaks people out because, it lights up as soon as they make the decision to even budge for the button. And it's impossible to press that button without the machine lighting up before it. So in that case, it's like the machine knows even more about what you're going to do than you yourself know. But has your free will been violated in that case? I don't think so. Because the machine is still reading into you. You have an unconscious layer of yourself that is making these decisions, right? And you can still identify with that unconscious part of yourself. But that unconscious self is informing the machine. So the machine is drawing knowledge from a deeper source, which is your unconscious. And same with Neo. Now let's say you could tap fully into that unconscious with a different machine. And it reads one-to-one. Well, I guess at that point, if you can read one-to-one with the unconscious decision-making factor inside Neo's brain, then you could predict before anybody else and before Neo's conscious self what Neo's going to choose. But my argument is this, that if you go that deep into the unconscious and you are that one-to-one with the information provided by the unconscious, that you essentially become Neo, that you are Neo. And the only reason you know what Neo's going to do is because you are Neo, and you are that the process is what you identify with, not the outcome. Now, I know I'm not the most articulate in this, in all these arguments that I'm giving. I still haven't fully fleshed them out. I'm just kind of talking them out and recording them just to, to exercise. So I'm sure there's a lot of confusion within myself and with anyone listening. But maybe you can, if some part of this kind of inspires you, or you have an issue with, maybe you can bounce off of those ideas, and so that I can maybe try to clarify or rethink a lot of the assumptions that I've made.